Hello and welcome to today's Up to Thrive Manage Your Mind Mindful Moment.
Welcome to Up to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
I believe that we all have music inside of us, magic to share with the world. I also believe that many of us aren't sharing it because maybe we're too busy or we're too scared or maybe it just is never the right time. Well, here we are, my friends. We made it to midlife. We're at the peak of that mountain that I keep talking about. It is halftime, so to speak. If you haven't yet done that thing that you've been wanting to do, ladies, I am here to tell you it is time to get a move on. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is, figuratively. I am recording today the day after a webinar that I held. Never held a webinar before. That was my very first one. And I think I did okay, except for that bit at the end where I couldn't work out how to unshare my screen, but I'd already unshared it. And so I kept trying to work it out. But anyway, the audience was pretty forgiving. But in that webinar, I talked about all the things that I have learned and have done myself to rock this midlife thing. If you've been listening for a while, you know I wasn't always rocking it. Actually, there was a time it was seriously rocking me. And I was thinking I was just going to have to concede. But then I got angry. And I decided to go looking for some answers. And all those things that I learned when I went looking for those answers, I added to the knowledge I already had. And I got myself here to this point where I'm feeling pretty good. And now I've decided to go even beyond the podcast and beyond my daily work in the clinic. And I have decided, I let the cat out of the bag yesterday in the webinar. I have decided to start a coaching program for midlife women like me who aren't where they want to be physically. And maybe they just need some support. Maybe they need some accountability, some guidance, some connection with other like-minded women. And my bet is that along with building some really strong nutrition foundations in this program and a really strong body, I am 99.9% sure there is going to be some tremendous growth in mindset as well. I mean, really, there can't not be. Mindset is at the root of everything. It's the bedrock. You ain't doing nothing if your brain isn't in the game. And our brains, this is a secret that maybe no one's told you, but our brains just want to keep us safe. They want us to keep doing what we know because that feels safe. Our brains, our primitive brains, are programmed to seek pleasure and avoid pain and to do it with the least amount of energy possible. They want to keep us in the cave. So we have to sometimes do a little outsmarting of our brains, a lot of challenging, really unhelpful patterns of thinking. And that's what I've done. I've done a lot of work in my lifetime in this area. And here I am dreaming up this program. And then I go on social media. Now, I've never been a real big social media person, but now that I'm out here doing what I'm doing, I've started building a presence on social media, and I spend more time there than I ever really have because I'm creating posts and reels in attempts to educate and empower and inspire and motivate and do all the things that, I'm passionate about doing and that I have made an intention to do. And also part of that is pointing people to this podcast as well, right? Well, if you're on social media, because I know that most of us have done this. I know I'm not alone. Sometimes we get on there and we start scrolling. They call it doom scrolling, right? You just keep scrolling. And here I am planning this coaching program and what it's going to look like and what I want to make it and thinking, all the things. And of course, something pops up, someone's doing something within the realm of my interest, this coaching, nutrition, menopause, fitness, whatever. And then before I know it, the algorithm is throwing all of these wellness coaches at me. And some of these ladies are freaking amazing, right? Their muscles are all ripply and their washboard stomachs and their hundreds of thousands of followers. And you know where this is headed, don't you? I start to think, what am I doing? What am I even thinking? I don't have a ripply washboard stomach. I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers. And then, fortunately for me, I have done this work and I see what my sneaky brain is starting to do. It's just trying to keep me safe. It's trying to keep me in the cave. Just keep doing what you're doing, Karina. You don't need to go out there. What if you fail? And that is usually a turning point right there. Because whenever I have that thought, and yes, even after all the work that I've done on my brain, it still tries it on just like a naughty little child. But that thought there of failing, that one is like alarm bells ringing for me. Because I believe with everything that I am, that there are no failures. There are really only learning opportunities. I believe that the only time you can fail is if you don't give it a go and you don't back yourself, especially if it doesn't work out the way you'd hoped for. I used to have to do this work with a journal, doing the thought model. Go back to episode 5 if you want to know more about the thought model. The episode is called If You Change Your Thoughts, You Can Change Your Life. And I'm telling you, I have done a lot of work in this area. And now I can just do it on the fly. So put myself in check. And sometimes I also might need to still go for a walk or just go to bed and clear my head and just start again tomorrow, right? But these unhelpful thoughts have, for the most part, lost their power over me. The thought model comes from Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School podcast, and I give her credit in that episode that I just mentioned. But she also has another episode that I have listened to more than once, probably a few times, really. It's all about creating our work for the world. And she talks about how she believes that every single person on the planet has an offering, something inside of them that the world needs, and that your education and your experience and your brain and your personality create something new that has never been created before. And this obviously really resonated with me because I've come back to these ideas time and time again. So yeah, I may not have a Ripley washboard stomach, but I do have my education and my personality and my experience and my passion and commitment and creativity. And there are going to be people out there who are my people. And there's going to be people who aren't my people. And I'm good with that, right? So I put myself out there, and that was terrifyingly exhilarating. And after the webinar, my best childhood friend, Sarah, who visited recently, if you've listened recently, you'd know that we've had a catch up. And by the way, we never got around to eating those honey biscuits and drinking port, but we did have an amazingly beautiful visit. So anyway, Sarah attended the webinar. Thanks, Sarah. Such a beautiful friend. Beautiful, supportive friend. And afterwards, we had a little debrief session. And one of the things that she said was that she was proud of me for talking about money. Because with a coaching program, there's a cost involved, right? And I admitted that it took some self-coaching. Actually, it took a lot of self-coaching to do that. I have been told by some of my colleagues that I'm not a great business person when it comes to billing people. And so I've always been really quite happy just to leave the finances and the billing to the admin folks and just do my job. But now I am the admin, right? This is my thing, this thing I'm creating. So I had to do it. And you know what? I do believe that most often people don't value what they don't invest in. And when they do invest in themselves, they're more likely to show up for themselves. And that it can feel like permission to prioritize ourselves when we've made that investment. I also truly value my time and I value the client's time. So I got there in the end. Just another challenge I've overcome. Yay! So friends, what is it that you've been too afraid to do that you haven't got around to doing yet? Is there something inside of you that you've been wanting to create, but you've been putting it off? Maybe because you feel like someone else is already doing it. I hope that what I've said today resonates with you and gives you the courage that you need. What if you're the one that we're all waiting for? I hope you've enjoyed this Manage Your Mind mindful moment. And if you have, and you can think of someone else who might enjoy it, please pass it on. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast to make it more visible to those who might get something out of it too. Have a great week, everyone. And until then, I hope you opt to thrive.
The Opt to Thrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by Opt to Thrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from Opt to Thrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts for medical services to.
Thank you for listening to Opt to Thrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at opttothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.